Kent wanted to have the family artist Gene Sesh talk about his projects, but Gene had left to go to a show in Bandera. Gene is famous for his wood carvings. Wanda Bublik, family historian and author, reported that she had done little research this year in terms of dates and events, have been pretty well documented. She does want to have family members submit family stories to show a more personal side of our genealogy. Wanda indicated Kurt Ewald was videotaping people relating their family memories. Wanda honored John Young's passing by his research in filling in the Canadian McDougall story. She said she would keep in touch with June Ross, who was finishing the book that John and June had researched. Wanda said she would let the family know when the book would be available. Wanda's book will have an update when she has enough stories, and enough stories have been submitted by family members. New business. Kent said that the rent for Turner Hall this year is $250, but next year, in '05, it will jump to $400. In light of family budget and smaller numbers attending the reunion in recent years, Turner Hall would be too expensive. Kent opened a discussion on suggestions for possible places to meet. Wanda indicated Lady Bird Park has to be reserved by January 1st. Since reunions had been held there before, the problem of it being too hot was brought up. Kent's sister June said that there was a new library at Mason with pool, air conditioning, playground. It could be rented for around $100. Wanda wanted to keep options open even if we met at a different place each year. The family members present also decided to continue to have the reunion each year. The family count was William 11, John 7, Alonzo 5, Tom 6, Henry 5, Matilda 10, a total of 44. The collection was $227, making available family funds on this date as $633. Today would only diminish that by $50.
Is that it?
That would be it.
Anybody make any changes to the minutes? Nothing else to do. Approved as read. Anybody want to report any deaths or births or any changes?
I handed mine.
Yeah, Josephine gave us hers in writing.
I'm not even, you want to use it all straight.
While Doug's looking for that, I do know we did have one death in the family, and that's my sister, my first cousin, Doris Heineke. It was Doris McDougall Heineke. San Antonio, died Thursday, this past Thursday. She's Henry's family. Her father was William Henry McDougall. We called him Slick. I don't know if y'all ever remember him. Slick, probably not. Slick McDougall. It's her daughter, his daughter. She died Thursday or Friday. I'm not sure.
Well, I can remember the death, but I can't remember the first. Elmer Elrock died in January of this past year, and he was a husband of Bell McDougall, Elrock, and she was the daughter of Benno, and Benno's the son of William.
Anything else?
There was a death of Lacey Sparks and her family aren't here. She did send an email, and her grandmother had passed away, and her grandmother was the son of, a daughter of Gus McDougall, Gottlieb McDougall. And basically, quickie on the obituary, Marjorie McDougall Timon O'Brien went to be with the Lord on Friday, March 25th, 2005. She was born March 7th, 1918, Houston, Texas. She only weighed 3 pounds when she was born, and her parents put her in a shoebox with a warm brick under it to keep her warm. Marjorie spent most of her school years in San Antonio. When her family moved to Corpus Christi in 1932, she stayed behind to live with friends so she could finish high school. She graduated early at the age of 16, paid $5 to arrive to Corpus Christi to be reunited with her family. She met her future husband, Dudley, September 19th of the same year. 2 daughters were born to Marjorie and Dudley, Margila and Mary Lynn. During World War II, Marjorie was faced with raising her daughters on the prison farm where her husband was warden in Flower Bluff. They lived briefly in Beeville while they both worked at Chasefield there in 1950. Marjorie also worked at Kohler Times in many years at the Naval Air Station, Corpus Christi. Martin retired in 1976.
All right, we'll just bow our heads for a second in memory of those who have. Thank you. Okay, since it's kind of hot in here, our program is always Wanda, so I'm going to turn the program over to Wanda right now and let her make her presentations, our family historian.
Well, don't sit down, Kent,
Okay.
first, before you get too far. We met while we were in Canyon Lake this summer. We met a gentleman and his wife who are do the what do you call it?
Highlander Games.
Highlander Games. Thank you. And he was on his way to a Highlander game in Abilene. Okay. So what we did was my sister and I were talking to him, and he looked down at my feet, and he said, "You're Celtic, and so if you got toes like me, you're Celtic." Okay. He assures me that these are Celtic toes. My brother has them, and his son has them. My sister has them.
What's the
They're long.
The character long and skinny and extremely long, and that he said I'm Celtic.
He says Celtic, and I was told monkeys. So I don't know.
And while we were there, part of his wares are the clan.
Hey, about that.
The crest.
Crest,
Crest.
clan crest. Okay.
Turn around as well.
Here it is. That's the clan crest, and he makes all kinds of things with this. But this happens to be the MacDougall one, and
Before the age.
It's
Spelled correctly here.
oh yes, it really was. It was spelled correctly. So we decided that it would be appropriate that we would get one with the clan chief on the front of it.
All right.
Okay, and we would present this to Kent as for thank you for his being our clan chief for all this time.
Well, thank you.
All right.
Thank you very
It's
much.
probably too wrong size, but one size fits all, right?
Sometimes.
Yeah, it's very thoughtful.
Unless it's a small one, it's going on me.
It's almost too neat to wear. I might have to frame that.
Oh, no, you gotta wear it to every reunion that we have from now on. That's gonna be fun.
Well, thank
Was
you.
McDougall MAC at one time?
Originally, I think that's
Yeah.
where
It was.
It was MAC. Yeah,
Disappeared.
that's, I think we Americanized it. So what I wanted to share with you is we have spent some time, and I don't know if everybody's going to be able to see this is what I'm afraid of, and probably if you can't, it's going to be better to just be right out here someplace. I've got a presentation that,
It's going to explain it to us.
Put that tapping machine.
there we go.
on
Okay. How do you get on first? What we did for the last couple of weeks was to, just 1 week, seems like forever. It was to see what we could find out about the Morris Ranch. Can anybody see that? Not close enough?
The light behind it.
There's a light behind, too much light behind it.
Oh, my, we cut the lights off.
You think it's too much, then it's too dark.
No, it might help.
It's too dark.
Sure, try it.
Try the lights.
Okay.
Let's do the dark. Let's see what happens.
Can you see any of it? Okay.
It's a little better.
Well, we'll show it again and again. But what I wanted to do was to take you through what we learned about the Morris Ranch. They, as you know, I hope you know that the McDougall family lived on the Morris Ranch. Alexander and Johanna lived there for quite some time, and
their children were all born by the time the Morris Ranch started, but they had at least one family I found in the history who actually had the son and his family and their grandchildren and all there. So their youngest child was less than a year old when the Morris Ranch was started. So their children were probably all on the ranch at some point. And so I would like to just give you a little synopsis of the things that we learned. Okay, let's see if I can get this to play now. The Morris Ranch and the Alexander McDougall family. This is some of the history. In 1836, Sam Houston granted a land scrip for 23,040 acres on the Pedernales River Valley to William Bryan. Don't have a clue who that is. Okay. And later the land was transferred to J.W. and R. Levitt. I did find out some information about them. They were land entrepreneurs and figured this is almost free land. They're going to go out there and get it, right? And but lo and behold, they went back to New York where they lived, and they went into bankruptcy. And so they decided to sell the land to a man named Francis Morris on February 18th, 1886. And they sold it to him for 25 cents an acre. So this is a lot of land they sold him, okay?
How much land was it?
23,040 acres. We figured it up the other day, how much it
I
cost.
thought we figured 17,000.
Oh, we did, but wait a minute, the next one. Okay.
18,000.
Francis Morris then sold 6,400 acres to a guy named Peter Hayden. That was in 1859. Okay, and so then he had left 17,000 acres, and how much was that, Fred? $4,250 is how much he paid for 17,000 acres. Okay. But it wasn't to be. Francis Morris died before he ever saw the ranch. He was in New York, and he had a plan for this ranch. He was going to raise horses because he had other holdings in other parts of the country that were race horses, and he thought that this would be a great place. And it turns out that this is a really great place. The people who know what they're talking about look at this area, and the original people who lived on this land were the Comanche Indians. And they had some of the greatest horses that there ever was for that period of time. And so they decided that it was partly because of the water that is filtered through all the rock here, the limestone rock, which adds the good minerals to the water, which the horses drink, and gives them good strong bones, and then they eat, what kind of grass was it, Fred?
You called it something.
You had a name for it, we don't know what it is.
Okay, I'll think of it in a second. The grass that was native there, which they ate, was also the best thing, better than Kentucky bluegrass, where they have all the race horses. So
The
it was
skeet grass.
the skeet. There we go, the skeet grass. I didn't think of it. And so, because Francis died, in his will, he didn't leave this land to anybody. So his son had to purchase the land out of his estate. His son was John A. Morris. And so he became the owner of the land then. And he was still back in New York. And but before Francis died, he took his nephew aside, who was Charles Morris, and he said, I want you to be the manager, and I want you to make this ranch great. And so he was already planning to do that before the cousin took over, John Morris, okay? And from 1836, when the land was first set aside by Sam Houston, to the time it was bought in 1886 by Francis Morris, to 1921, when the family finally gave up the land to a lot of different people. They had those almost 1,700 acres almost too. That was part of the family's tract. Okay. The location of the ranch is it's 11 miles southwest of Fredericksburg. And someone told us last year that all you have to do is drive out Tybee-Dale Road. Well, we drove and drove and drove, and we finally found Tybee-Dale Morris Ranch Road, and then we drove and drove and drove and drove again. Right? And so we were way back in, and finally found the corner of Tybee-Dale and Morris Ranch Road. And that's where we began to see pieces of what the ranch was. It's located 16 miles northeast of Kerrville, and it's found in the hills through which the Pedernales River flows, so that goes all through the ranch. You can reach this Morris Ranch Road right off of Route 16, going out away from Fredericksburg. Okay. The Morris Ranch was a breeding and training center for thoroughbred racehorses. They registered their brand, and if you look closely up here you can see it. It's an M with a backwards F for Francis Morris, and it was registered in 1886. The ranch became a nursery for thoroughbred horses. He brought all the, 120 mares and 16 studs, and they started raising all these horses there. And they got all the horses together. They were a collection of royal bred domestic and imported stallions from across the Atlantic, and they had some real winners that got them a lot of money in the racehorsing business. One that won the English Derby, who's called Gallantry, and one that was a winner of a classic in Brooklyn, was called Cassius. And then Britannic is the one that's called the fastest horse that ever lived. Okay. Of course, that was his trainer's idea. But in 1897, the New York and across the country passed a law against horse racing, and so it started. That was only like 10 years later, and they've already started outlawing racing horses. So they stayed in business for a while, but then they decided in 1902 to go out of business, and they started a sale of all their horses from that time. And the ranch stayed together somewhat until 1932. At that time, they started to rent out the land to farmers and ranchers and to parcel it out in little pieces. Okay. This is one of the horse barns, and my dear husband, with all his patience, took me out here. We did not have all this history when we went out to take pictures. We just decided we'd drive out there to see what we could see, if there was anything there. And when we got to some place that looked like it might be something, we stopped and took pictures. And so then we went and found the history. And lo and behold, we took the right pictures. And so it was terrific. This is, yeah, Martin for the horse, that's me. The racehorse business was operated on a large scale. I'll show it all to you in a minute, Mom. They had 12 large two-story barns that were located on various sections of the property. In each of the two training barns, and this was one of the training barns, was almost a block long, and was had enclosed runways that extended around a central row of stalls. And the north wall of each of these barns, these big ones, was glass, so they had lots of light. And in addition to the large barns, there were lots of smaller barns for different purposes. So it had 12 barns in total on this land. There was a training stable, a racetrack with viewing stands with it, broodmare barns, stud barns, and everything that was necessary to have a thoroughbred nursery. And it says that the Morris Ranch in the late 1800s compared favorably to any similar institution in the world and was still growing. Okay. This is the inside of the barn. And as you look straight down inside of the barn, you can, the two dogs that were outside this barn didn't let us get out of the car, so we just took pictures. Right? Didn't go very close, right? But as you can see, it has some lower stables here in the back, and the big barn, though, is where they had the horses. And I found a story about Clarence and John B., who were two of Walter's sons, and they were Thomas's grandsons. And they both attended school here, so their father Thomas was one of the ranch hands, and he was Alexander's son. And the two sons says they attended school at Morris Ranch, and that is when they didn't play hooky to go fishing. They both spent many happy hours riding and training the famous racehorses owned by Captain John Morris. The young men, little boys who were on the ranch, were taught to care for the horses. And they walked them and groomed them and took care of the horses and the barns. So they were a big part of the whole setup. Okay, this is the first building that we came to. It's a general store and a hotel. In the bottom part of it that's the store. The Morris family was not only interested in the business end of the ranch, which of course was horse racing. They were also concerned with the many employees and tenants living on the ranch. And a whole community was constructed consisting of a mill to churn out commercial flour, which they used by the people who lived there. And there was a store and a post office and a drug store and a blacksmith shop. There was a social hall and a hotel to house prominent visitors, and a beautiful church and school. Okay. This is next door to that big store was the post office and the drug store, and behind it is the cotton gin and the blacksmith shop. Okay. This is the jockey house. What they did here was to invite young men from the area to come and learn to be a jockey. They taught them to ride the horses. They taught them to train them and to take care of them. In the house lived young boys in hope of someday becoming fine jockeys or trainers. And on the lower floor of the jockey house was a kitchen and cook's sleeping quarters, a dining room, large recreation room, which doubled as a schoolroom at night for the boys. Their sleeping quarters were upstairs. Now this was a story from Eddie McDougall's wife, Maida McDougall. She recalls the fabulous days when Morris Ranch was the home of the world-famous racehorses, where the jockeys were housed in their dormitory and attended their own school. So she actually lived there with her husband and family. This was another of the houses that's still standing. We took a picture of this. It should have on it. This was about a fourth of a mile down the road. It was a three-room rock building used for church services and for school. So it's a really large building. For school entertainments and other special occasions, the folding doors were pushed back and the three rooms were made into one. And some of the jockeys and the children from the ranch went to school here. And I do have a story of
About what year are you talking about when you go on?
this is about 1890. The school property belonged to the Morris Ranch Consolidated Common School District number 40 until 1962. I was wrong. Okay, and when the school was annexed, that's when it was annexed to the Fredericksburg Independent School District. Okay. Church services were held there with different pastors from different churches coming. In 1974, the schoolhouse was purchased and converted into a tasting room for the Haversack Winery. And Lady Bird Johnson was on hand for the dedication and planted the first grapevines for the vineyard. I kept searching that to see if I could find out what happened, but evidently it didn't go anywhere. Because in 1983, that's 10 years down the road, the land was purchased by Mrs. Frances Hurd Billups. She was the widow of a retired general, and she purchased it as a home. And at that time, she applied for the National Historical status for the house. And there's a whole thing in the library on the historical parts of the building. And the Hurd family live there today. And so if you go by, you'll be able to see that the Hurd family is still there.
And their dog protection.
No, that was wrong place.
Other house.
This picture here represents the family at the Morris Ranch. It's actually in our book. And this is the wedding of Herman McDougall and Ella Jordan. And this is a picture of the whole family out in front of one of the barns with the bride and groom. That was in 1907. And that was just at the time that they were having to stop the racehorsing business. And so the family was there and has memories of the whole building. Okay. The Morris Ranch today, we found a lot of wildflowers, some cactus, anthills. I even got a few of them. Okay. It was cut up into small tracts and sold for farms. And many people left the ranch and moved in or near Harper, Texas. Many of them were Morris family because they had a lot of the family who actually worked on the ranch. And the one family that I found in Harper, Texas, was the Thomas McDougall family. Okay. Today there are private homes all along where the ranch was before. And I like this one on the right. There's a real old wagon sitting there with a cute little BMW right next to it. So